Great. So thank you everyone for having me. My name is Christy. I am the head of client success at Reonomy. So Reonomy has been partnered now, I'd say about 2 years with Eastern Union. We are a research and analytics platform for real estate professionals. So the company was founded in 2013 by Richard Sarkis, Charlie Ashman. Since our inception, we've raised just over $20 million in funding led by SoftBank and Bain Capital. So we have a lot of support behind us. It's been a very exciting couple of years for us. We have thousands of users on the platform now. Our current tool covers New York City 5 boroughs, and we have a national product that's being beta tested right now, and that'll cover the entire US. We're expecting the launch of that to be sometime, I would say roughly in the next 1 to 2 months, maybe sooner, fingers crossed. So as I mentioned, we're a research and analytics tool for real estate professionals. We aggregate data from hundreds of public sources, and then we take that data, we overlay it with our own proprietary algorithms to deliver really high quality, accurate, verified information. I would say one thing that we're known for, we're best known for, I would say, is our ownership information. So we pierce through that LLC, we identify who the owner is, and then we provide information on their phone number, email address, and other contact details. So the best way I could explain the tool is really show you, give you a tutorial. Everyone in the course will have access to this tool for the remainder of the course. So I believe that's April 16th. So within the next 24 hours, you'll get an email from clientsuccess@reonomy.com. That'll be your link to go ahead and sign up. You just create a password, and then you're good to go from there. You'll have full access to the system, again, through the remainder of the course. So with that, I'll go ahead and jump in. If anyone has any questions, feel free to go ahead and stop me. So we're going to start with our prospecting tool. This is where most people spend a lot of time in Reonomy. There's two main functionalities of the tool. You could do due diligence and research by running an address search, or this search that we're on right now is great for prospecting, finding those hidden opportunities. So you'll see at the top of the page, we have all of these filters. These filters allow you to select certain data points and criteria to search on. So maybe you want to see every office building in Manhattan that traded in the last 2 years, or you want to see every multifamily property that Wells Fargo was the lender on. Whatever the situation may be, you can overlay all those data points to really hone in on specific areas and find your niche. So we'll start with this physical tab. Here we go. So you'll see there's neighborhood here. I always recommend people start with a neighborhood, narrow down your results a little bit. Again, this tool, the tool that you'll have access to, covers the New York City 5 boroughs. So you'll see all the boroughs are broken up at the top. You could select a borough, and then you can go ahead and choose from a neighborhood of interest. So today I'm going to choose, let's go with Crown Heights. We'll select done, and you'll see it highlighted over there on the map to the left, just to keep you targeted in what you're searching for. Next, we'll go ahead and choose a property type. This may or may not be relevant to you. Some people I know like to hone in on, maybe you work on multifamily, maybe you work on office, but you don't have to choose every filter. So if the property type isn't relevant to you, you could certainly go ahead and just ignore it. But for this demo, I'll go ahead and do multifamily. If you wanted to get even more targeted with a property type, though, we recently added the data point building class. So if you knew a specific building class you wanted to search on, you can make those specifications as well. You can run searches on the lot frontage, the depth, the number of units, rentable square footage. So I won't choose all of these for now, but just to give you a feel for how the tool works. Now we're just going to go ahead and click apply. So what this is doing now is it's taking the 330,000 properties across the 5 boroughs, and it's now narrowed them down to 5,050. Still a pretty large number to canvas, and we haven't made too many adjustments aside neighborhood and that property type. So maybe we want to overlay a bit more data. So next we can select the sales tab. Maybe you want to see every property that traded in a certain window, or every property that hasn't traded in a certain window. You can choose, show me every property that had a sale from 2005 to today, properties that haven't traded in the last 10 years. Again, all of the specifications you can make and customize. You can search on that gross sales price, dollar per rentable square footage. When we click apply, it'll manually update our results. So those 5,000 results are now down to 2,000. This next tab I think will be really relevant for your use case, the operational tab. Here you'll find a lot of operational metrics. So maybe you want to run a search on properties that took out mortgages between 5 and 7 years ago. Those properties are likely ready to refinance. Now we're really honing in on opportunities that are relevant and could make sense for you. So down here where it says mortgage origination date, we can make that selection. Let's look for anyone that took out a loan. If I could click on this, there we go. We'll call it between January 1st, 2010 and January 1st, we'll do 2012. We'll click done. We can also make specifications on that total debt. So maybe you want to see every property that was at least $1 million in debt, or whatever the number may be. You're not limited to these drop downs. You can choose directly, you can type directly in this box as well. So maybe for this use case, I'll say any property that took out a loan between 5 and 7 years ago, minimum $250,000. Now when we click apply, you'll see that those, I believe it was 2,200 results. Now we're down to 101. So we've really honed in on target properties that could be relevant, could be a good fit for us. Once you have this list, you could just scroll down. You'll see we have high level details on the property. And then you have ownership contact information right here. So you don't even need to take another step. You could just call these owners by going right through this list. As you're calling, you can make a note. So you could say, spoke with the owner, this was the conversation, follow up on X date. We also have these workflow capabilities where you could tag properties. So you'll see you can add a label. These labels I created, so this is unique, customizable for you. So maybe in the course of this week, you want to say lead 1, lead 3, lead 5, however you want to organize it. And then you can just make that selection here. Again, it's in some of those workflow capabilities to help keep you organized. You can also adjust how your results are sorted. So you'll see up here at the top of the page, we're sorted by rentable square footage right now. Maybe you want to search by that total debt amount, the largest step first or the smallest step first. Whatever makes the most sense to you, you have that functionality. I'm quickly just going to save this search. We'll save it as test search for now, so we don't lose it. And I'm going to show you some other functionality. Whoops. We might not be. There we go. We'll save it as us. That works. So we've saved that search for now, and I'm just going to go ahead and click reset. And now I want to focus on this ownership tab. This allows you to search on a particular owner. So if you're cold calling and you connect with someone, you have a great conversation, you say, okay, let me see what else is in their portfolio. You can jump in here, you can run a search on their contact name, you can run a search for the company's name, or you could run a search on the phone number or email. So some people, they're hiding behind LLCs. If you do have a phone number, or maybe you get someone's cell phone, you're likely to get a lot of results by running a search on that phone number. So just to show you how this works, we'll just search Smith. We'll probably get 1 million results, but when you type in that name, you just click apply, and now it's showing you all the properties associated with that individual. If it's a very common last name, I just entered Smith, maybe you want to add the first name, last name, but you could try all variations of a name, John, Jonathan. That'll show you a whole bunch of properties in that portfolio. And then from here, you can continue to overlay that data. So maybe if your point of focus is, if your point of focus is Queens, maybe you want to just see the properties associated with Smith in Queens. You can just jump back into that filter and overlay that information. So it's really allowing you to get targeted, and it's pretty simple. So I'm going to hop back into, we'll reset this for now, and we'll jump into that search we saved, labeled S, nice and easy. One other thing that I want to point out under this operational tab, you can also search on specific lenders. So if you know that TD Bank was giving out really high rates 5 years ago, and you want to see every property that could have fallen into that category, you can change these mortgage origination dates to that time frame that would be relevant. And then you can go ahead and click over here and search on that specific lender. So if we were to just add a lender right here and click apply, now you'll see there's 4 properties that lender lent on in this criteria. So that had that minimum $250,000 loan amount between 7 and 5 years ago, multifamily in Crown Heights. So it's a really strong tool to just help you hone in on, market trends, who's doing a lot of business in a specific area, specific neighborhood. You can get really creative with the way you're using these tools. Let's jump out of that filter for now, and we'll go back to our original search. There we go. That should give us 101 results. Yep, okay, great. So again, as I mentioned, from here, you can go ahead and start labeling these properties. You can start calling these owners. If you're going through this list and maybe you see something, and I saw one earlier, you see something that seems a little funny. Here it is, 649 Empire Boulevard, and you say, all right, that sale price and that total debt amount, I want more information on this property. If you click on that address, it's going to direct you right into these property details page. So now you can really take a deeper dive into this property and see what's going on. And it's not a bad idea if you, before you make a phone call, to just dive around in the property so you're sort of armed with knowledge before you have that conversation. So from here, everything's broken out in these tabs. So it's fairly simple to navigate. If you're just looking for information on the building, you can just scroll down and you'll see details on when the year it was built, renovated, the FAR, square footage breakdown, things like that. Or maybe you want to jump into this debt tab. So this is going to give you a detailed overview of the debt on this property. So it looks like here's our estimated original debt. And it looks like this is actually crossed with multiple parcels, which is why that sales date from the beginning and that debt amount seems, there's something questionable there. This is the reason why. So if we click view, we can actually see that the debt is crossed across 3 properties. So now when you do go and have these conversations with owners, you already know this up front. So it makes you look knowledgeable. You're impressive at this point. You've done your research, and it's just simple information. It's right there in front of you. You'll just see that cross debt parcels, and you can click into it. We also have links into the source documents. So if you want to reference anything, you can click right here, and this will take you directly into Acris. So you'll actually be able to view the mortgage. And you'll find that throughout the platform, links to underlying source docs. Anywhere you see this teal color, it'll likely say view. That'll take you to a source doc. So you'll find it with taxes, you'll find it with the zoning districts, etc. And then as we scroll down the page, you'll see additional key filings. So things like deeds, if there's any easements, UCC1 filings, UCC3 filings, that'll all be highlighted here. And again, you can click into those source documents. Also, we have this ownership tab. So as I mentioned before, we have really strong ownership algorithm. So here's where you'll get a list of those owner contacts. We'll put a green star next to who we believe is the best contact for ownership. Sometimes there's 1 green star, sometimes there's 2, occasionally 3. But we won't just limit who we believe is the best match. So if you scroll further down the page, we'll give you a list of all potential contacts. So if you follow the logic that the first match is who we believe is the best, you're likely to just get a better hit rate off the bat. But sometimes, it could be James, so we'll always give you that information as well. And again, in addition to these phone numbers, we'll give you their email addresses. So it's nice after you speak with someone to sort of follow it up with that paper trail and have that email correspondence going. It's also great if you want to start building distribution lists with contacts. And then this way you can reach out and market to owners in a really simple manner. You'll also notice that these are quick links. So maybe you had a conversation with Mike as you're talking, things are going well, and you want to quickly get a glance at his portfolio. If you click on the name, it's going to redirect you back into this search tool, and it's ran that ownership search for you. So you don't have to jump in here and run that search. It actually has already done that, and you'll see that this individual is associated with 18 other properties. And we did that just by, again, clicking on the name, and that links right back to his portfolio. You'll also notice these tabs. I won't click into all of them, but sales is where you can find sales information. Again, link into those mortgage documents. Financials, this is coming from owner reported RPIE statements. So not to replace any bottom-up due diligence, but certainly a strong reference point. Tax information, you'll see here, rent regulation. So if there are any stabilized or abated units on the property, in this case there are, that'll be highlighted here. We'll also show you a history of how those are managed out. May or may not be relevant, but I always like to point it out. And then notes. So when you are working on these properties, you can take notes. This will give you a timestamp and a date stamp. So 6 months from now, you're in the system and you say, I spoke with Mike, this was the conversation. It's a good idea to have a history of what it was. And then if you're looking to follow up and reach out, you can say, hey, we actually spoke 6 months ago. How have you been? You can build a little rapport. Maybe you take some notes at conversations you had. He likes the Mets or whatever it was. So you're really prepared to have that conversation. And then the last thing here is file upload. This is some more workflow capabilities. This allows you to upload your own documents to Reonomy. This will be unique to you, so no one else will have access to it. So your own personal license, you can upload whatever you like. If you have rent roll or any sort of documentation, you can store it here. Again, it's really helpful if 6 months from now you stumbled across this property and then you say, oh, great, I've had this information uploaded a while back. Over here to the right of the screen as well, this is an interactive map. So this actually allows you to click through neighboring parcels. It's going to give you a high-level overview over here on some of those property details. It looks like in this case it's a single or two-family home. But you can actually click through each of these parcels. So it's another quick way to go ahead and canvas a particular neighborhood. And you'll see here we'll also highlight those phone numbers. So if you were looking to, maybe you did a deal on a certain block and you want to call the neighbors nearby, this is a quick and easy way to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to quickly jump back into this search tool. So a little bit earlier, we were adding these labels to properties. So I added this property to leads. We could add it to deals pending, follow up. We can coordinate a couple. We could also favorite properties. So there's all these quick buttons. So it's easier for you to navigate, just saving you time, helping you stay organized. You don't need to take a bunch of other notes. You can really access this all from within the system. This information is going to be stored here under My Properties. So if we're to click here on My Properties, here's your list of all of your labels. So any properties that you favorited will be at the top, and any property that you took a note on. So a lot of people say, I took notes on properties. I want to be able to access that information at a later date. Here's where that's all stored. So if you just want to see any property that you had took some sort of action on, you can click here, and it's going to give you a list of all those results once this loads up. And then you can go ahead and access all of those notes. And you'll see down here, here's that note. Most of my notes say test note, so not much value there. But it's a great way for you to go ahead and compare some of these properties. You can also overlay these lists. So maybe you want to see every property, maybe you have a follow-up list and a lead list. So maybe you want to see every property from your leads that you made a note to follow up with. If we click here, now it's showing you the properties that cross both of these lists. So again, it's a really easy way to just help keep yourself organized. It's a great workflow functionality, and then you can go ahead and expand this map and get that full page view of where these properties fall. So after you've started labeling properties over time, you can start to identify your own trends. Where are your leads falling? Maybe you should be focusing more time in that particular neighborhood. So it's great for your own use cases to sort of track where is their interest, what's been a hit for you so far. And I'm going to just quickly jump back into our search tool. A couple of new features that we released that we're always happy to point out. And I believe actually some Eastern Union users actually even requested this a while back. But we have this radius and this draw tool. So this actually allows you to be more specific with where you're searching. That's a pretty big radius, but we'll go ahead and search it. So if you want to be targeted in where you're searching and the properties that you're looking for, you're not just limited to that neighborhood. You could actually draw a radius or draw any sort of shape on the map to hone in that area. So again, it's just allowing you to be incredibly targeted and specific with your searches. You'll notice this tool over here on the left, address. So earlier we clicked into that property and it gave us a deeper dive into that parcel. You can run a search on any property you're interested in and through this address tool. So you don't have to run a search to back into it. You just can come in here to do your research, due diligence, and you can just go ahead and type in that property address, I think it was, and you'll see it'll start to pre-populate results for you. You could also search on BBL. So to search by BBL in here, you have to enter the borough code first. So Manhattan is 1, and then everything else follows in alphabetical order. So Bronx would be 2, Brooklyn 3, Queens 4, Staten Island 5. So that's an easy trick for remembering the borough codes. And then so you do the borough code, dash, block, and then dash, and then the lot. So you can search by BBL or search by address. You also have a list of your recently viewed properties below. This is helpful. Sometimes when you're clicking around from search tool, you have 100 leads, you're clicking into all of them. You forgot a property, you want to remember some of those properties you last jumped into. All of those recently searched properties are highlighted for you here. So clicking on them will just direct you right back into that search page. You also notice this quick link, find comps. So if you're looking for comparables, it's one click. It's going to redirect you back into that search tool that we're in. So most of these links, aside from the source docs, will actually take you back into search. And what this tool does, it runs a search for you automatically. It selects properties in the same neighborhood as your subject property that have the same property type, plus and minus 20% square footage. We could see that here, and having sales in the last 2 years. So you'll see we have those 5 comps here. You can broaden these parameters. So it's pretty easy for you to come in here and make these adjustments. Maybe you're not so set. It doesn't need to be an elevator apartment. Maybe a walk-up apartment is fine as well. And maybe these square footage parameters are a bit small. So we can expand that here. Oops. We're really going to expand it with 20. That's fine. Now, there we go. Now we'll get no results. Yeah, let's see. You know what? I think I'm probably better off. We'll play it safe and we'll do the drop down. So we'll call it 10,000 to 57. When we click apply, we brought in our comp set. So we took those 5 comps, we now brought it to 56. So you can really get targeted in what it is you're looking for. And again, it's easy, it's flexible. You could really play around with a lot of these filters. A quick tip I'll share with you guys as well. We'll just reset this search here. In this operational tab, you can get really creative with the particular searches that you're working on. I heard someone tell me the other day they were running a search for hard money lenders that were taking out loans in the last 3 years. So you'll really, once you start to play around with these filters and the data here, you'll really start to hone in on certain opportunities. I would say in when you first log into the system, start clicking around, play around with the filters, run a couple of searches, reach out to a couple of contacts. And then from there, see what sticks, see what makes sense. You'll really start to identify tons of opportunities the more you play around with each of these filters. And again, there's no limit to how many searches you're able to do. So I would certainly take advantage of that over the next couple of weeks. And then the last thing I'll point out here, you'll notice this help tool at the bottom. So this is a live chat. So anytime you have a question or you need help, you can just go ahead and start a new conversation. And someone from the team will get back to you. So if you're looking for a piece of information, if you're running a search and you're not getting results, or you get stuck anywhere, you can reach out to us here. And again, it's a live chat, so it's a quick form to help you get your questions answered. It's also a great way for us to collect feedback. So something that we pride ourselves on is really making a lot of iterations and changes and improvements to the platform. That recent request we got to the ability to draw on the map, we were able to release new data points we're able to release. This is part of why we were able to build the national product so quickly. We got a lot of feedback from our users. So certainly send any requests or feedback through here, and I can sort of give you a status updates on where that falls in the pipeline. Is this something we can build, and what's the timeline like for that? So we definitely want to interact with our users and make sure that we are hearing your feedback and certainly building products based on your requests. And then we'll also use this tool this went out on St. Patrick's Day. We'll use this tool to reach out to you with any sort of updates or improvements to the system. So if there is a new feature, we'll let you know so you're not missing it. Over time, as things get added, it's easy to overlook certain data points. So we'll constantly reach out to you with any updates or improvements. Get these fun emojis down here so you can vote on if you like this or not. So I would say that's a great way to use the help tool, and certainly take advantage of it in those first couple of weeks. We're happy to help you and make sure you're getting the most value out of the system. And that covers it at my end. Does anyone have any questions or anything that was confusing or they wanted more information on? Great, easy enough. Yeah, it's pretty easy to navigate. If you do have questions while you're in the system, feel free again to click here on the help tool, or you could email us at clientsuccess@reonomy.com. And you can use that email as well if you didn't get your access information. So again, within 24 hours, keep an eye out for that email. It'll be clientsuccess@reonomy.com. You'll have a link to create a password, and then you'll be directed right into the system. The only limit you'll have is with exports. You'll see a little export link in the platform. I think everyone will have about 5 basic exports just to play around with the functionality of that tool. But just be aware of that if you reach any limits there. That's the reason. Yep, absolutely. So if you click on, if you're searching a property and then you click onto that building and lot tab, we'll give you that information there, and as well as under the sales tab. Yeah.
One of the properties, one of the first ones we saw, it said sale price is $1.
Yep. So the question was, just in case everyone who's listening online, the question was, one of the properties we saw, the sale price was $1. So that could be a couple of things. One, it could have been, my guess was, and if we had clicked into that property, we could do some research. It was likely a deed transfer or a transfer between someone within the family. So they probably just did it as a dollar transaction. And if we clicked into that mortgage, we could probably see that the name would change. Or it could be this is coming from public sources, so it could be someone filed it wrong. Usually when you see a dollar, it usually traded within the family. But occasionally you'll run into, someone had a fat finger and they inputted the information wrong. Not likely, because we do run this across hundreds of sources. So typically we'll pick up on this information. So that one, likely situations like that, I would say just jump into that deed or mortgage so you can verify.
You search your notes.
So you can search your notes, but that's actually on the product backlog right now. So that's pending. We've had that request before. So I don't have a release date. My guess would be within a month. So coming soon.
Reminders about holdings, like the calculator.
So that's not in the New York product right now. It is on the backlog for the national product. So, if you want to beta test that at some point, that's something that'll likely be available. My assumption would be it'll be released in New York as well, just because they want to try and keep those products hand in hand, but not in here currently. Anyone else? Any other questions? Great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me. I'm excited to get everyone on the platform. Again, don't hesitate